With the container ships comes the cocaine. With the cocaine comes the cash. With the cash comes the violence. With the murders of ordinary people and those in the public eye, sending shockwaves throughout society. We're in Rotterdam, a bastion of organised crime. .5 million containers enter Europe's largest port every year. Controlling everything is impossible. And drug dealers know that.
Drive, drive, drive.
Policewoman Romilda Schaaf directs her colleague. The narcotics officer films with her small camera. Other police cars join them. There's been word of a cocaine haul.
Ja, 2 boten. Ja, die hebben ze nu ook. Die hebben we. Voor 2. Oké, blijf jij hier staan? Onder controle. Oké, thanks.
A drug courier is diving through the harbour basin with a package.
Zet hem in het licht en op de knieën.
This time the investigators are there in time to intercept him. An almost daily routine job for Romilda Schaaf and her colleagues. A dangerous routine, as she's well aware.
Well, I've got my bulletproof vest and an extra secure car. Then we're also wearing a second bulletproof vest. I just hope if things get serious, I'll be faster.
Speed is of the essence, and not just in a car. The port is 42 kilometers long, and many places can only be reached by police boat. The officers often work in the same fixed team. We're joining them for today's operation.
Ik vergelijk het inderdaad wel eens met een vuilnisman.
I compare my job with that of a garbage man picking up trash. If he stopped, the streets would be full of trash. The trash doesn't stop coming.
Maar het huisel stopt niet.
The port is so huge, they're sometimes on the move for hours. The 2 police officers are members of a special task force that also includes public prosecutors and customs officers.
We carried out a search yesterday evening with customs. They're still back there with the investigation team. We're looking for 2 guys. Unfortunately, we didn't find them.
Often, customs authority divers are brought in, such as here for another ship. They dive down beside the side of the vessel, sometimes to a depth of 20 or 30 meters. And find containers fixed to the side, or hidden cavities. Time and again, they find huge packages of cocaine, the drug that's corroding the Netherlands. But that's nothing new.
It started in 2012 with a stolen load of cocaine in the harbor of Antwerp. That's where it started, and then it expired into a total war that up till now is causing people to be killed. And it's a war that is about power, it's about control of the harbor, about cocaine, a lot of money, and it's about who controls the underworld and that's where it's about. So it's about power.
There are around 100 different container ships in the port every day, sometimes a lot more. New ones arrive all the time, each of them carrying thousands of containers. They bring in the cocaine. 40 tons of it was seized here last year alone, but much more gets through. The total estimate for the ports of Rotterdam, Antwerp and Hamburg combined is closer to 1,300 tons. Prime destinations for South American suppliers. Most of the cocaine is distributed in the Netherlands, where most of the gangs are based. Different types of harbour workers are involved. A crane driver can earn 100,000 euros if he moves a container in the right direction. A regular dock worker can pocket 20,000 for just looking the other way. This man was involved in cocaine smuggling for many years. He managed to get out. When it comes to the gang's methods, bribery is only half the story, he says.
They apply pressure to get the weaker ones to carry on, for sure. They use subtle threats, so you aren't threatened directly. Really subtle. Things like, I met your girlfriend. You've got a beautiful wife, a beautiful boy, dad, or mum. Not real threats, but you still don't feel safe. I'd like to warn everyone about that.
En dat is wat er eigenlijk op dit moment, en daar wil ik iedereen voor waarschuwen.
Lawyer Vito Shukrula is on the way to prison for a meeting with one of his clients. Most of them are underworld figures who were involved in mafia-related crimes. He knows how they tick.
Things can set them off quickly, and it can escalate very quickly into aggressive behavior, irrational behavior. This means that if something occurs in their life, let's say an arrest, that the first way, the easiest way for them is to see who is culpable, who is guilty. And they don't see it as that they are guilty, that they are responsible for the actions, but it can be the police, the judge, the prosecutor, the lawyer, but they don't look at their own responsibility. So sometimes I tell them, wait one moment, you're blaming everybody, but first look into the mirror. What is it that you have done to get in this situation? I know how they feel because I used to be one of those children back in the days. When I went to school, people also tried to stop me to go to the gymnasium, telling me, what are you doing there? You should not be here. So sometimes you don't get the same opportunities. And I like to represent those kind of children who made bad moves, bad decisions, and became maybe even a hitman or someone.
Romil de Schaaf is well aware of the risks involved in her job. But I'll always be a police officer, she tells us, and prepares for the next operation, which she'll be filming for us. The police have received a tip-off. They're looking for cocaine smugglers between the containers. In cases like this, an entire area is cordoned off and work comes to a halt. They're looking for people hiding in the containers. Some even live in them. People who have to get the goods out of the port. They're known as out-haulers. Police swoop in. They get their men, but there's plenty more of them out there, and they'll be swiftly replaced.
We made 268 arrests in 2020. This year it was already 180, and the year is still long.
Cocaine is also seized in the raids. The authorities estimate 1 kilo has a street value of around 50,000 euros. Often, several tons are found in one go. Many threads of the cocaine mafia come together here in Amsterdam. There's a robust trade in the red light district, but most of the drugs are moved to other countries. This is an extremely lucrative market that's defended by all possible means, including violence. The so-called Mocro Mafia is active in some Amsterdam neighborhoods. Many of its members have Moroccan roots, hence the name. Vito Shukrula's law practice is located in one of these districts. He's been watching recent developments with concern.
And it's very alarming because these people can be very young. They can, even guys from 17, 16 years old who do these kind of things. So it's alarming to the government and it's going out of control. Problem is that the government over the past years, they took a lot of money away from the neighborhoods because normally there were the agents, the police who were in the neighborhoods and they were talking with the people and people from the municipality. They were talking with them, but they took the money away from them. So they shortened them and now they don't feel what's happening in the neighborhoods. And these people, the crime bosses, they take over in those neighborhoods and they show who's the boss there. And people listen to them.
Through his work defending clients from the organised crime milieu, Vito sees how much power the drug mafia has developed.
The government normally should have the sole purpose of using violence when it is needed. But if you have a shadow government with hundreds of millions to their disposal, then you get these kind of problems, because then they can attack institutions like, for instance, newspaper.
CCTV pictures from June 2018 show a white delivery van and a getaway vehicle approaching the building of the Dutch newspaper De Telegraaf. The van rams the entrance twice. The driver activates an explosive device and flees the scene. It's not the first attack on a media company. Many Dutch journalists reporting on Mocro Mafia activity can now only work under police protection. The attack on De Telegraaf, the country's highest circulation daily newspaper, is a clear show of power. Even more shocking was the attack on a lawyer, Dirk Wiersum, in September 2019. He was defending a key witness in a high-profile mafia trial. Wiersum was gunned down in broad daylight. The witness's brother, who had no involvement in the case, had already been shot dead. The murders are a wake-up call for the Dutch. Investigators follow the trail to Dubai, the long-time hideaway for mafia bosses wanting to conduct their business undisturbed. It's here that special forces detain the man suspected of ordering the killings. Police find a stash of cash and guns at the apartment. Red wine and cigarettes are left on the table. Ridouan T is thought to be one of the leaders of the Mocro Mafia. After being brought to the Netherlands, he is now the principal suspect in what's known as the Marengo trial, the country's highest profile mafia trial to date. It's taking place under tight security. 17 suspects are standing trial for alleged involvement in a string of murders and attempted murders. Among them, the killing of a blogger. This footage shows a failed attempt, but that afternoon, the killer fulfilled the terms of his contract. Public prosecutors describe it as a well-oiled killing machine.
What we're seeing here is that these killings definitely come from a criminal milieu, and they target people who have talked or people who were a threat to the organization. It appears that this organization has attempted to maintain its control in this manner.
Was Peter de Vries also seen as a threat by the Mocro Mafia? He was supporting a key witness prepared to give evidence in court.
Hij zat op de grens van radeloosheid en heeft toen een beroep op mij gedaan.
The key witness asked if I could help him and support him. I'm actually a crime reporter by profession. You could say that Nabil was first of all a gangster. But after the death of his brother and his lawyer, I also see him as a victim in all of this.
Als slachtoffer. Hij is een duidelijk slachtoffer geworden in deze zaak.
De Vries is one of the nation's best-known journalists. At the trial, he works together with the new defense lawyers for the key witness, found to replace the first lawyer who was murdered.
En zoveel pogingen tot moord dat je
With so much violence and murder, it's the state's duty to intervene.
Te ontleden, want
And for social coexistence, an effective rule of law is of course crucial.
Die rechtsstaat kan blijven functioneren.
Ja, er staat heel veel op het spel voor de overheid, want bij het grote
There's a great deal at stake for the state, for public and social cohesion. This is the given moment when everything is revealed. And if a lawyer is liquidated, then the question is, who really is in charge of the country?
Is dat de onderwereld? Is dat deze
Is it the underworld? Is it the criminal organization? Or is it the police and the justice system? The question arises. The constitutional state is of course under threat with the murder of the lawyer for the key witness.
Een schokgolf door Nederland heen van waar zijn we in beland? Waar gaat
And that's a shock for the entire nation.
Betekent dit dat ook rechters en officieren
That other lawyers, representatives of the judiciary and journalists are no longer safe?
voor hun leven moeten vrezen?
The whole spectrum in our country is at stake with this trial.
Dus dat is wat er allemaal in dit proces wel op het spel staat.
And that's why the Marengo trial needs to take place at all costs. The state needs to take a stand, particularly because the defendants have many supporters and there are very real fears that even if they're in prison, they'll still be pulling strings. The trial against the Mocro Mafia is mainly possible because investigators managed to infiltrate the gang's communication channels. For a long time, criminals communicated using the encryption software PGP, or Pretty Good Privacy, until the authorities managed to hack the channels. This meant they could track Mafia activities in real time, including murder plans. One order to kill read like this.
Bro, this man must die. If someone wants to do it live, that's best, I reckon. Prepare the hitters and the weapons. They'll get a fat stack. I can't tell you how much I want to get him. What guns do you need? AKs and Glocks are ready. Bro, do your best.
Another encryption software used by the Mafia, EncroChat, is also hacked. International investigators monitor messages for weeks. When the organization realizes what is happening, investigators pounce in a number of locations and go public.
Maandenlang als Nederlandse politie een tap hadden op de onderwereld in Nederland.
For months, it's like we've been sitting at the same table with the criminals.
Meeluisteren en zien wat zij besproken hebben.
We heard what they've been talking about and what they've planned.
Ja, en deze enorme
And over the next few weeks, we're going to dig around this gold mine of information.
Gaan we die goudmijn gewoon delven.
Investigation team leader Andy Krag used to be an elite fighter in special Dutch army units. He was shocked by what he and his colleagues heard.
Doorgewinterde regisseurs die al 30 jaar...
We've got experienced, hardened investigators who've been in the business for 30 years and who've never seen or heard anything like it. They say quite simply in one sentence, person X must sleep. The word sleep means they want to kill someone. And then that's what happens. That's horrifying to see. Another example is that we came across a real prison and torture chamber.
This raid took place in the summer of 2020 in the southern Netherlands. It's evidently a Mafia group base, one of many. Investigators detained more than 1,000 suspects in the Netherlands and across Europe. They found weapons, subterranean dungeons, and a kind of torture chamber.
Nou, dat zijn wel spannende momenten waarbij...
These are very tense moments when you have to intervene. When a special observation team and an arrest team have to be called to intervene. Other uncomfortable moments are when you see that corruption is involved. Corrupt custom officers, corrupt police officers. Then you have to respond to your own colleagues. We have a separate team for that in our national investigation team. These are very difficult situations. There is a lot that we have experienced in the last few months. I could write a whole book about it.
Ja, daar kan ik een boek van vol schrijven.
Successful police raids destabilized the cocaine mafia, but so far there's been no discernible impact on shipments. Customs officials regularly seize tons of the drug, such as here in Rotterdam. Business as usual, it would seem. Within the Mocro Mafia milieu, many hundreds, if not thousands of people are waiting their turn to take over the highly lucrative business. And the cycle of violence continues unabated. On the 6th of July in 2021, in downtown Amsterdam, the broadcaster RTL was producing the program Boulevard, once again with Peter R. de Vries. The journalist featured on many shows talking about organized crime and the Marengo trial. But on that day, he was discussing an abduction.
Aan één kant denk ik wel dat het misschien nog een geluk bij een ongeluk is geweest.
Once his interview was over, Peter R. de Vries left the studio and walked towards his car. It was nearly 7:30 in the evening. 5 shots rang out. De Vries, the famous crime reporter supporting a key witness in one of the biggest trials ever seen in the Netherlands, was mown down. In central Amsterdam, most likely by 2 Mocro Mafia henchmen. Although de Vries thought he would be safe. The killing sent shockwaves through the Netherlands. People simply could not believe what had happened. Apart from the 2 attackers, 2 others were seemingly involved. Immediately after the shooting, they filmed the injured Peter de Vries and posted the video on social media. The footage was immediately shared hundreds of thousands of times. Insiders saw it as a message. Look, we can do whatever we like. 9 days after the attack, Peter R. de Vries died of his injuries. The entire country mourned his death. The brother of a key witness, then the lawyer, and now a nationally famous journalist. And those were just the high-profile cases. They hit the country hard.
Peter R. de Vries was an outstanding journalist. This was an attack on press freedom, a foundation stone of our constitutional state, and therefore an attack on our constitutional state.
All drugs mafia crimes were attacks on the constitutional state. The murder of Peter R. de Vries, the murder of the lawyer Dirk Wiersum, and the bomb attack on a newspaper's offices. And there's no sign of any let-up. The Dutch seat of government in The Hague. Prime Minister Mark Rutte was always a keen cyclist. Several sources now report an acute threat against him. Rutte now needs special protection. But targets aren't just people in the public eye. Lawyer Vito Shukrula knows that. Take his current case, for example. He's defending a client accused of involvement in a contract killing. We accompany him to court.
People were, the victims were sitting, you were parking the car, and suddenly people rush up to him, just like in a garage like here. So you must imagine that the horror for these people, because they don't understand, they're not criminal, they're just living their daily life, and then suddenly they see hitmen rushing up to them.
Jordi Latumahina is a DJ. Jordi has a wife and a young child. On the day in question, he and his family leave the underground parking lot in his black Mini Cooper. At that moment, the contract killers drive into the garage. A short time later, Jordi and his family return. The killers are waiting for a black Mini. They fire at 3 people who have absolutely nothing to do with drugs or the Mafia and flee the scene.
And the bullets of the automatic rifle just missed the baby child with 2 centimeters. The wife was also hit with a lot of bullets, and so she merely survived, but her husband, he died in the garage at that spot.
The 3 perpetrators were caught. The trial is underway.
My client is accused of driving the car with the hitman in it into the garage. He says that he never knew that these people were up to this plan to kill people into the garage.
The killers targeted the wrong people.
That is very disturbing for a lot of people, because it's not something that is abstract. It becomes at that moment, it becomes reality that everybody can get a victim. Everybody can get killed.
Vito Shukrula before the start of the trial. It's still unclear what he can do for his client. As far as the Netherlands is concerned, he sees a bleak future.
The way our system at this moment is, it will keep on going with the cocaine, and with the money and the killings and the Mafia.
The harbour police know that too. They're now trying to get container companies on board in the battle against cocaine trafficking. The police want these companies to do more to counter corruption by conducting more stringent checks on staff and workflows. But is that enough?
Of course, we're trying to seize as many drugs as possible and arrest suspects. But I don't have the utopian belief that we'll stop it. But there's no question of giving up. That's simply not an option. I can't do much, but we really need to continue this fight. Whether it's me or my successor, it doesn't matter.
No one in the Netherlands believes that the world will ever be completely free of drug trafficking and crime, particularly as long as the demand for cocaine continues to grow.